This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 455 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Total Saddle Fit. Tonight, we've invited young horse expert rider Angela Jackson on the show to discuss training and competing 4-year-olds. Beth Hayes will join us from the Horse, of course, to talk about dressage fashion trends, and we have a great trainer tip about 3-year-olds.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Loxahatchee, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi,
Phil.
Well,
we are back. Hey, Reese.
I know, we're back. Phil, well, first of all, I had a great time when you visited us here. We worked some horses. We actually had a great time, but we worked a little bit. I kept you busy.
Yeah, I had a really fun time. We were able to teach one of my clients that's down there, Andrea, and we worked on your horses a little bit.
Yeah.
And other horses a little bit. So a little bit of a vacation. And then
went on vacation.
Jen and I and the Horse Lovers Cruise took off from Miami, and we sailed around Bahamas and Key West. So that was
you guys
perfect
had a
vacation.
blast,
Yeah.
huh? I was so jealous of you guys. The whole week, I was like, oh.
Well,
How was
fantastic.
the cruise? What'd you guys get up to?
To just to meet up with some more of our listeners and to make some new friends. So that was really fun. And I mean, the weather we had was unbelievable. And we stopped in Nassau. We stopped in Key West, like I said. And what was the little island called, Jen? Oh, she's not going to help me out with this.
Coco Cay.
Coco Cay, that's right. It's a Royal Caribbean beach island. So
yes, sounds amazing.
we had a good time. I had a good time.
Sounds
but
amazing.
it's back to work. I'm at home now.
I know. And how's the weather?
Actually, it's kind of warmed up and it's raining. I think that's going to be the weather for the whole week, which I can handle. Now I've got my vitamin D all built up and excited. I think we're going to turn a corner, make it into March, and be thinking about some horse shows. So it's it's really fun.
Nice.
What's going on in Wellington? What's going on in Loxahatchee actually this week?
Yeah. Great. Actually, the horses have been fantastic since Phil came. He got a little, which is good. And I had lessons with Scott Hassler yesterday, so that was so much fun. And today I went to an instructor certification workshop. So just lots of busy stuff. It's really busy. That's the thing around here. It gets quite busy. And then we have a horse show this weekend, so we're going to get ready for the horse show. So hopefully,
I gotta ask you on air, because I know that you and I went down to see the 5-star freestyle. What did you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the 5-star freestyle, and we both went to the special as well, to the 5-star special.
Oh, it's a special the next day, yeah.
Yeah, which was great, and it was nice to have Phil in, because I actually took the time to go do that, which is nice. Sometimes we get stuck
off the farm,
here. Yeah, we get stuck on the farm a little, which is a good and bad problem to have. But I really, watching Laura Graves ride, if you haven't seen Laura Graves ride or a video of it, you should, because it's really, really special to watch her ride Diddy. The relationship that those two have is pretty amazing, and it's just really something to watch. So I would encourage everyone, go on YouTube, find it. She was really a class to herself. Wouldn't you say, Phil? It was like Laura Graves and then the rest of the class.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not much of a rivalry there. It's more of her, and then, like you said, and there were some combinations of younger horses. The first year, competing internationally in the Grand Prix. So I think we're going to see quite a few horses step up throughout the season here, and when they get to WEG at the end of the year, will be much improved, and I'm excited to see how these horse riders will develop.
Yeah, and that is always fun. It's always fun to see him now and then again sort of at the end of the year. But Laura Graves was phenomenal. So that was really fun to watch. And then, Adrian Lyle, her horse, Salvino. That's a special combination to watch, I think. It really is. They won the special.
If she can, that horse has so much expression and movement. So if she can corral it and get a really some accurate test patterns and really work on that relationship and trust. You could see, especially in the special, I mean, we saw a bunch of horses kind of spooking at the wind was up the next day, and the tents were flapping a little bit. So unfortunately, there were some mistakes in the Grand Prix special rides that were unfortunate, but it happens, right? That's the big stage, in there.
That's the
and
deal, right?
A lot going on, so.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a CDI this weekend also. I don't know if I'll be able to go do that, to go see that, because we're showing too. There's 2 shows, which is crazy. But all is well. Everything is sort of full steam ahead here for sure. So
great.
It's all good. It's all good. So yeah. Well, we have a great show.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the show. So go ahead.
Yeah, we have a great show today. We're going to start off a series. Phil and I have been talking about doing the series for a while, so I'm excited. We're starting it off. We're going to talk about young horses and sort of the young horse FEI tests and sort of what those are and what you're looking for and
expectations for riding the young guys. These kinds of things.
Absolutely, and maybe when to take a horse and when not to take a horse. So tonight, a good friend of mine, Angela Jackson, is going to come on. She's going to talk about 4-year-olds, which is fantastic. So I hope you enjoy that. But we're going to start off the day of sort of a fun segment. Beth Haste from The Horse, of course, has done this segment for us before of what not to wear, but also what are some hot trends in dressage fashion that we're seeing down here in Wellington. So I hope you enjoy. Well, tonight I am so excited to have my friend Beth Haste on. She is the owner-president of The Horse, of course, and she's here in Wellington. Beth, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Reese, for having me. I really enjoy being on your show.
We love it. And really, let's be real. You are the lady on
the go-to person.
The go-to person to what to wear in the dressage world. So I'm super excited. We did this segment last year on sort of what's the newest fashion? What's going on in the dressage world?
I think in the dressage world, you're seeing a little less bling. I think you're seeing it very strategically placed. And I think we're getting a little bit back to a more classic look. Now, when you say classic, that doesn't mean long skirts on your coats, nor does it mean a waist seam. So that's where I think it's going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about strategically placed bling, what are you talking about? Where, how much?
I think that you could have a little on the collar, maybe a little on the, let's say a short coat, a little on the collar, a little on maybe even on the pockets, not a lot, just enough. And I think it should be almost a little subtle, so you don't want to have something really contrasting.
Okay.
And I think that some of the trends that I've seen, you have to be careful. Like I've seen some piping on some coats, but I think you have to be very careful that is put in a strategic place on your body to emphasize something good and not something bad.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some bad piping down here.
If in doubt, don't do it.
Yeah. Right. If you're going to put white piping down the back of your back, I'm just saying you better be really straight. Because I've seen some top riders. Ooh, you're like, oh my gosh, look how crooked they are on the left side. Like, it's so obvious because there's a huge white stripe down their back. And I'm like, ooh, that's, yeah, that's, you have to be
if you think about that, that just on that thought pattern, that's one of the reasons why we got rid of a lot of white line bridles.
Oh, yeah.
Makes
sense.
Because the judge
I remember the days when there used to be
straight lines to look at.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. I never thought about it, but it makes sense, right? Complete sense.
Sure. So then we went to blingy brow bands, which didn't accentuate the movement of a horse's head or a tilt so of course it's going to relate to your body in the same exact way.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about, like, I mean, I've seen some dramatic coat colors down here. I mean, some like really dramatic blues or, you know, burgundies. How do you, I mean, what's the stage on that? I mean, some people, you're standing out, and I'm not sure you want to be standing out.
Well, I this is going to be a rule of thumb for this is what I tell my clients anyway. You make choices and you set the stage. So you have to be careful what message you want to give to the judge on entering the ring. So if you are that confident that you can wear a lot of bling and something really outstanding in color, are you not telling the judge, wow, take a look at me because this ride's going to be fabulous?
Mm-hmm.
And is that the message that you want to give?
Right.
So I think that that's how you kind of have to look at it. I mean, you have to, down here in Wellington, of course, we have the best riders. So they can wear things that the average amateur maybe would rethink, because they feel when they go down center line, they want everybody looking at them.
Yeah. Sometimes they
shouldn't. So I think that they can get a, well, that's true. That's true. And
the Reese fashion
police.
If
you think it, yes. But if you think about that, I always look at like the top 8 riders. And usually you will find them to be in very classic looking coats. Mm-hmm. And you don't see quite as much bling in the top group.
Well, I think it's important that you want to highlight the horse, actually, and not everything that's going on top of it. You know, just let your, you know, let the rider be a little bit in. I like to think of the rider being a little bit invisible, and that the horse is doing his job without it. But I think, you know, what I see is when I see, you know, a contrasting color of boot and a really contrasting color jacket, then you're maybe a little bit distracted. Like the rider is now, you know, popping out at you, and you can see everything that's going on, and your eyes are drawn to whether it's bling on the coat or the helmet or whatever, and then you're actually taking away from the picture that may be of a really outstanding, beautiful horse. So, I mean, I think everybody knows me. I've talked about it all the time. I like black on black, you know, and guys, I haven't seen any of the guys be wearing it, you know, any of these light color blues, grays, browns. It's usually black on black, you know, with white breeches, and then the horse does his job.
Well, I'm going to make a little comment about the black on black thing, because to me, the number one color for dressage, and has always been, is really navy.
Yes.
And black was just something that people thought was a dressage look. And navy really was the number one color for dressage, and remains today the number one color for dressage. And you're not going to believe what number 2 color is right now.
What? Brown.
It's brown.
Yeah.
It's brown. Yeah.
Why? Because it's super on the horses. It's great on the person's skin tones. And it's still classic. It's still subtle.
So, Beth,
it just looks beautiful.
So I just, real quick, technical question. Is there a rule that your coat needs to match the boot color?
No.
Is that, like, if you wear a brown coat, do you have to wear a brown boot? Okay, good.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You can wear, black,
Beth, I've talked to a steward about this. I think if you wear a brown boot, you must wear a brown coat.
That's not true. It's really not true.
In Canada,
well, it's not. Trust me.
Interesting. Yeah,
I mean, that's one thing I should know. Basically, what the rules. Matter of fact, there is a rule in the FEI ring that you're not supposed to wear other than a black boot. There's been some stuff that's been let go. Absolutely, got to check the FEI rulings.
Yeah, interesting. Goodness. So on that note, what are the sort of, well, we were just talking off air, and I was just watching the Olympics last night, and there was a poor ice dancing girl who had a wardrobe malfunction, and her neck thing came off. It was so awful. So what are some ways we can avoid that in dressage? I had to ask that question for tonight, because after that poor girl the other night, I thought, oh, what are some things you can do to not have a wardrobe?
That was pretty scary.
Oh, it was awful. I felt, oh God, your Olympic dreams slashed because of this neck thing. So what are some things that we can do
I think it's very important to, before you go to a horse show, take your coat out. Check the buttons on your coat. Make sure that your buttons don't need some extra stitching. The last thing you need before you climb on the back of the horse, you put the coat on, climb on, and boom, there goes 2 buttons. That's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that your boots are clean and the zippers are clean.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need an inch of packed dirt at the bottom of your zipper that goes down into the foot. You want to make sure it's all clean, the zippers are working correctly. So I think just checking over just like you would check over any equipment, that you need to make sure that your buttons are sewn on well. And it doesn't hurt to put some extra stitching in your buttons.
Yeah.
Every coat should come with an extra button. And I always tell my clients, please sew that extra button to the lining of the inside of the pocket or the label inside the coat. Don't leave it home in a safe place in case you lose the button.
I think I do that. That's a good reminder. Yeah, that's a great reminder.
So I think that's so important, because then of course, if I'm at the horse show, you can always come and see me for a replacement button. I do try to keep all the brand buttons with me, but a lot of them have changed rather rapidly. So I haven't even been able to keep up myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to have your extra buttons with you, have them sewn into the coat so you have them in case you need it, and make sure you check the buttons out and go over the seams of your white breeches. Just make sure that nothing looks like it could let loose. And,
that's a really
couple
good
of
point.
Extra stitches.
Well, especially for our northern riders.
Just like checking your equipment.
Yeah. For horse show season, if you're up north and not, here in Florida, we're all showing right now. So, but the first horse show of the year, you always have to check. But that's a good thing to do right now.
Put your outfit on, ride in it maybe. I like to put, especially the horses that are going in the FEI ring, that you have to, get your tailcoat out, put it on, make sure none of that kind of, sometimes if the wind's up, your tailcoat could flap or touch the horse on its butt. Right. So get used to wearing that. Yeah. And I think one of my favorite tips for people, is to pin down your stock tie, or
I've had that wardrobe malfunction myself.
But pin that to your shirt. What's that?
I've done that. I've
that thing flying up in your face is not cool.
Yeah, it's not cool. You try to. It's like that wardrobe from the Olympics. I've had it happen.
Yeah.
And it happened to me because I have we had literally a hurricane. We had ridden, and so everything was wet. So I took out sort of my second set of stuff, my old stuff, and my other one had a pin, but I didn't think about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I won't ever do that again. You do that once, you won't do it again. Oy.
No, that's a malfunction that you don't need to have happen. So you just need a little safety pin in the bottom of it. Pin it to your shirt.
Go with 2.
That's
what I do. 2. Trust me, 2. Yeah. It's better. So Beth, for our final question.
There's one other little.
Yes. No, you tell us.
Yeah.
Where were you going with that?
Well, there's one other thing in thinking along that vein, that to make sure, you can spray your white breeches with Scotchgard until they're sopping wet. And when they're dry, they will be stain resistant for up to 2 years.
How do I not know this?
And
What? I never knew this. I'm going tonight.
It's so important.
Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
Just stuff from Walmart. Just Scotchgard from Walmart. Yeah? Oh.
Yes.
See what we
And
learned
I
during the
would do
show.
it outside because it's a kind of nasty spray, but you'll never know it's on your britches at all. And you can also, guess what? Do it on your white saddle pads.
What? My life has been changed, everyone. Beth, you've changed my
Stain
life
guard.
again. See, Beth dresses me, but she's changed my life tonight. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Oh, kids, don't go to Walmart in Wellington. I'm buying it all. Oh, I never thought of it. Love it, Beth.
And it doesn't even have to go on your white breeches or your white saddle pads. It can go on beige breeches, gray breeches, because we all know that the dirt gets on our thighs always.
What? Oh, I'm so excited.
So
my life
any
has been
light
changed.
colored clothing.
Wow. Oh, Beth, you changed my life again. Oh, so Beth, one other question for you. What is the sort of what not to wear in dressage land?
Well, I think all the coats, let's make this, and it has been for over 8 years, the coats are short. The coats are no longer long. They should just be where you sit in the saddle. Your coat shouldn't be hanging down below the saddle. It should be just so you can sit in the saddle and not be sitting on your coat. It makes for a longer leg. It makes you look taller. It is comfortable and it is athletic. And I think that's the big thing that we need to understand. It is athletic. The last thing you need to be doing is wearing grandma's hunt coat that's hanging halfway down your thigh. You're sitting on it. You're trying to sit the trot. It's all of a sudden starting to move underneath you, and it's yanking on the back of your neck. This is not a good look.
Not pretty.
So what not to wear? An old-fashioned, waisted, long-skirted jacket.
Oh, look, kids. Oh, I love it.
So get
Well,
rid
I mean,
of the
and the fabrics,
waisting,
the fabrics they're coming out with now are so you got your stretchy materials, lightweight materials for summer riding. I think that's a big advantage is that you can ride all day in your show coat and you're not going to get overheated. I remember the old wool coats and that got very, very hot and were not good. Not good for any kind of long riding. You wanted to be out of that jacket right away. I think they make them so comfortable now and lightweight that it's worth getting an upgrade if you are riding in a bit of an older coat.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a more athletic coat, but I do say that there are two things you want to invest money in. One is a coat, and one is a pair of boots. Mm-hmm. You can get a less expensive breeches or a less expensive shirt, but your coat is going to go in and out of the washing machine a million times. Mm-hmm. Your boots need to be a part of your equipment. Let's face it, when you wear proper dressage boots, your legs are quieter on the horse.
It's true.
So this is two pieces of equipment. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So buy a decent coat that's going to go in and out of the washing machine, that fits you properly, that is not tight, that your sleeves are the right length, that the body is the right length, and the most important measurement on any coat is the neck to waist measurement. If it is too long from the neck to the waist, it makes the coat stick out in the back. It looks absolutely dreadful. So that is the most important thing to look at when you're buying a coat, that it fits you properly in the proper dimensions. And all the coats, we don't even sell a coat anymore that doesn't go in the washing machine, including all the shad bellies. Mm-hmm. They all go in the washing machine.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, Beth,
doesn't it make sense?
Oh, it does. Because let me tell you,
absolutely.
We've all been at that horse show and you've gotten sopping wet and you have to go, you're in the hotel and you can pop it in the machine and your life is way better. So, well, Beth,
absolutely.
we can't thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to get in touch with you about coats or boots or scotch guarding your pants, changing my life, how do they do that?
They can contact me, Beth, at thehorseofcourse.com. Anytime. If they don't remember that, they can go to our website, and the gals from the shop will give you my direct email.
And Beth is
don't
amazing.
Hesitate to contact me.
She will make sure you're not in the what not to wear category. So,
okay.
Beth, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, that was a fun interview with Beth, as always. And right after this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to come back with Angela Jackson.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Are you worried about digestive disorders such as colic, diarrhea, and ulcers making your horse sick? Try adding Nalox Advanced to your horse's diet. The ingredients in Nalox Advanced support a healthy stomach, robust microflora populations, and normal gut function, so digestive disorders become a thing of the past. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of all ages to maintain a healthy gut and reduce the risk of ulcers, diarrhea, and colic. Why take chances with your horse's well-being? Start your horse on Nalox Advanced today.
Well, tonight I am so happy to have a friend of mine and also someone I really respect, Angela Jackson. She's the head trainer at Rhine River Farm in Henderson, Kentucky, and she has gone to a lot of young horse finals in every division, and I couldn't think of a better person to start our young horse series. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Hey there, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are so excited to get this series started, and I couldn't think of a better person because you've done young horses for so many years, and you're a breeder, and you get a lot of young horses to ride. So tonight our topic is to talk about 4-year-old horses, and we're going to kind of do this segment of what kind of a normal 4-year-old would do, and then when you are looking for the young horse finals at the 4-year-old test, kind of what horse are you looking to take there? So let's start with just kind of what do you expect from a 4-year-old, a normal 4-year-old horse?
Well, I think a normal 4-year-old horse should not do a 4-year-old test because I think it's very difficult and it's very demanding, and they have to not only physically perform a pretty technical, challenging test for their age, but also mentally they have to cope with a lot. So a normal 4-year-old really, it's a lot. And for somebody who doesn't have experience with young horses, I wouldn't recommend it. Now that said, I think if you have a very nice young horse that has been started correctly, and it's showing like that it can handle it, I think it's a great experience, and it makes them grow up a little bit faster.
So when you start working with your 4-year-olds, what are some expectations you have of those horses?
You know, it's like, for example, this year again, every year I get some horses in, and so right now I have 2 3-year-olds coming 4, so they're right in this boat. Every year, this time, I'm like, oh, I don't think I get them ready. It's always this worry, can they handle it, can they not handle it? And I try to have my owners in the realistic expectations. So I don't want them to, I don't like it when they send me a horse and say, I want you to do 4-year-old, because that's not realistic. I always tell them, I said, wait, let me see how the horse is going. Let me see how the horse is developing. And if the horse can handle it, then we'll take it one day at a time. I have to listen to the horse. The horse will tell me if it can or cannot do it. Last year, I had 2 4-year-olds. One made it, one didn't. The better horse actually didn't make it, but it was just mentally not a good thing. And I didn't want to push the young horse in a place where it might just get so overwhelmed that we're going to have way more problems down the road. So I'd rather be patient and let it develop. And when it tells me, this is easy, I'm good to go, then I usually say, sure, let's go for it. But sometimes I don't even know that. Sometimes I enter the class and I still don't even know if I'm going to ride it. I mean, that's how close it sometimes is to see if a horse can or cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at home and you're riding, I mean, do you take the 3-year-olds to a horse show? What is your decision making on just going to a horse show at all?
No, I don't take 3-year-olds to horse. 3-year-olds really only need to be hacked, and they need to come in and be played with and just go kind of through a simple routine. They don't need to do much. It's just going through the everyday same routine to get used to it. And they usually do like 20 minutes, if that. I mean, they need to be horses. And it's no pressure. It's just going around, getting used to steering and getting used to, other horses in the arena and just trusting. And you just kind of go and try to install the basic training scale. They have to, when you close their leg, they have to go forward. They should not be afraid to hold the bit in their mouth with a little feeling in my hand. And, and they just have to get steady and relaxed. And I should be able to, they should follow my guide. If I, take a little right rein, they should follow me to the right. If I take a little left rein, they should follow me to the left. If I squeeze both reins, they need to slow down. If I squeeze both legs, they need to go. I mean, it's very basic, simple riding, and just walk, trot, canter, left, right, throw them back out. I mean, 3-year-olds, in my opinion, should not go to shows.
Okay, so
too much.
So the first, if you have a horse, then the first horse show will be in a 4-year-old year. Is that going to be in April
I don't
or?
Do 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I think that depends on what happened prior. So if the horse had been played with, like I just said, and had a nice little, gets the routine down, doesn't get stressed out, then I would say probably, I usually do May, just because the weather warms up a little bit. Weather is also a big factor with young horses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to have it a little bit warmed up, and then I try to find a showground that is a little understanding of young horses. So there's like last year I ran into a friend. They took first and foremost, it was a mistake. They took a 4-year-old into an indoor show. And I think that's a problem. I told her afterwards, I said, why did you bring this young horse here? This is such a scary place.
Yeah.
I mean, this is scary for adult horses, never mind for a youngster. And, the horse wouldn't go in the ring, and she got run out, and then she got all mad at the horse. And I finally had to I had to interfere on the woman. I'm like, look, you need to leave this horse alone. Stop, because you're scaring it even more than it already is. You're asking it to be on the bed. You're asking it to do all kinds of stuff. This horse cannot mentally handle all this. Stop. This is, you should not even be here with this horse. And
right.
I think that's very important. So I try to find something that is a little more open, that has a fence around it, where there's no concrete, that has a lot of gravel or dirt areas. So they're a little bit more inviting for young horses and a little safer. A larger warm-up I prefer for the young horses at the first shows, and they have to have safe lunging areas. So I can go out. I usually call it "let's stoop it out." I go out in the morning and I lunge them a little bit, because they're overwhelmed. They look and there's tracking and there's this and there's that, and they just need to go out there and just, they're flight animals. So the first thing they want to do is run, and so I just let them do their thing. And when they calm down and they take a breath and they let their necks fall and they start to focus on me a little bit and they interact with me, then I just kind of say, all right, you're good now. And then I put them up, and then before the class, I'll get them ready, maybe spin them another time or two around on lunch line and get on. And usually they handle it. I mean, they're going to be scared, but I never enter a real class. It's always a material class, because no expectation. I don't have to write patterns. The judge usually is understanding, and they say, hey, why don't you say, just, you don't have to be on the rail. I could be off the rail if something spooks him, like the flowers or the boxes or the judging booth, or, I don't have to do that. I can just go around as the horse feels comfortable. And if it falls out of the canner, I can pick it back up without having to get after it. And so it's a much more inviting way of introducing a young horse. Plus it has buddies with him, usually. So that makes him more secure. And that's usually how I try to introduce them. And if they handle that, then I can go at the same horse show. Then I can go in each ring and show it to them and get them used to all that. And when they handle that, then I can usually make another decision and say, maybe in a month or so, if we do another little show like that, maybe we'll try one. We enter it and see what happens.
Yeah, I love how you do that. You really look at the horse at that moment in time and then make a decision instead of like, this year we're doing the 4-year-olds. I think with a 4-year-old horse, you have to be very careful because they do change so much from, February to May to June to the Nationals in August.
For a young horse. Yes.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And the other thing is in the 4-year-old year, you run into that more than in the other years. I think in the 4-year-old year, you also run into some growing issues.
Sure.
So you have to keep that in consideration. Some people don't pay attention to it, but you have to because their bodies don't feel the same from one week to the next sometimes.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot with the 4-year-olds, it's just their energy levels change a lot, right? Like one week they're going to be very exuberant and and then the next week they spend the whole week sleeping, like because they just they grow, they get tired, they their muscles are growing. You're just for me, I think it's just about you're forming the basis of a career for a horse, and you can very easily screw that up by riding too much, pushing too much, or just hurting the trust between horse and rider. That's what you're developing. Nothing to do with really dressage. You're just learning. The horse has to learn to trust and to go out to a show maybe, and to be in a really secure, confident place. Yeah. Because you have so many more years to build upon that to actually do the classes and work your way through the levels and all of that. But if your horse doesn't trust you, or you're not confident at a horse show, I think that's a big thing. Like, okay, you're going to take a horse to a horse show, but you can't decide that you're just going to leave it in the stall. You have to ride it if you're going to go, or whatever, that you have to make a really good plan that you can handle, I think. Because I get, as a trainer, I get a lot of horses.
People get in trouble.
Yeah. You get a lot of horses that were, ruined because they were really good horses. And somebody said, okay, I'll just go to a horse show. And then the horse had a bad experience. And now you have to spend so much longer to retrain that bad experience. Yeah. And that's not good for them.
I would say, having done the young horses all the way to Bonne Championat in Germany and having done many young horses here, I think what I have seen over the years is also that people want to buy young horses because it's more affordable to buy a young horse, of course. But young horses go through just like children. Not that I have children, but I think people who have children can relate. They have little tantrums at times, and they test you what they can get away with. And I think if you don't have the stomach to make sure that you keep them on the right track, when they start getting really scared or when they get really unruly at times. So, they're passaging and the tail is up in the air and they're blowing and they, going around. So then you have to make a decision. If you know your 4-year-old that you can ride through it and they're not going to go dangerous with it, bucking, rearing, running, hopefully you've done your homework at home. Obviously that had to be done first. But I see people that are surprised or seem surprised that a young horse is acting like that. And then they get in a lot of trouble, and the horses learn that behavior gets them out of doing what we as humans want them to do. And then this bad behavior is actually taught, and they use it now all the time as an evasion. And
I'm always surprised how how fast they can pick something up, in a negative way,
Right.
and how long
They're
it takes to
always
undo
learning.
that thing.
Good or bad, they're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's so important. I think that's an incredibly important point. And that is, if you're not comfortable, you need to pay someone that is comfortable.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'd be perfectly honest. I don't like to take a 4-year-old to a horse show. I'm going to pay someone to do that probably, unless it's an incredibly good 4-year-old. I don't do it very often, and I'm not that confident at it. I like it when they're 5 or 6 and they go and they're nice and they behave. But I know that. So I'm very comfortable saying, Angela, Philip, someone else, can you take my horse to this horse show for the first time? I'm fine with that.
That is a smart decision.
Yeah. I mean, I know that. That's not my thing. I don't do it very often, and I don't love to do it. So until I'm confident, I'm going to pay someone that is. And I think that doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean anything. It's just you're setting yourself up for success. If you're not comfortable with doing that, get someone that is. And I think that's important. That's super important, because you are setting this horse's life. You really are. The first few times you take that young horse out, it is going to really set the stage for that particular horse's career and their life. So I think it's important to send that horse with someone that's super confident. And I think a lot of people are tentative to do that with youngsters. And I think that's a very bad way to go myself. So
Yeah. Well, and I think in this country, it's not really understood. I think in Europe, you see some of the top riders. We all know they're incredible top riders, but like Isabel has several young horse riders employed, and that's what they do. That's their job. And Isabel is the first one to tell you that they have to do their job proper so she can do her job proper. And it's just everybody has to do their part of the education. And I think I'm not sure that in Europe, I think the young horse riders are much more highly regarded as there are here. I think here people say, oh, yeah, they ride young horses. I mean, I know I run into that at times.
Yeah.
But I think even under professionals, they look, it's not, I don't want to say look down at, but I don't think it's understood the way I think it should be understood. In Europe, I think the young horse riders have a very high reputation from the top professionals, and they actually send some of their top horses. If Reese, you go over there and you can buy a 2-year-old at the auction for a lot of money, and some of these horses, and they're very selective on where they're sending their horses.
Who's gonna ride?
No, I completely agree with you, Angela, and I think that's actually something missing in our country, to be perfectly honest, is people that are very comfortable doing it, and to step back and say, well, that's not my thing, but this person is so good at that, and they give such a great foundation so that I can come in and do what I want to do. And I think that that's so important, and I feel like we are missing that in this country. Philip, probably Canada as well. I mean, and it should be a highly regarded, it is such a skill that not every rider has, and I think it's important. And in this 4-year-old year that we're talking about, you need to be able to recognize, you need to be able, for sure getting to the young horse finals is the exception to that rule. But if you're going to go that route, you need to have someone like Angela, like Philip, that they know how to say, let's wait a month, or it's not ready, or and not think that that's a bad thing and it's a failure, or, oh, my horse didn't make it to the 4-year-old championships. I mean, they're asked, real quickly, what are some things that are in that test? I mean, those 4-year-olds have to do quite a lot. What are some things?
It's about a first level test, I would say. It's what they're looking for is obviously the first 3 parts of the training scale. They're looking obviously for foot rhythm and relaxation and suppleness, swinging back, ability to bend, how they articulate in their joints, how they use their body, stretching over the back. And they're
obedience,
really looking for
obedience questions, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And there's a big score. You have only 5 scores. So you have obviously the walk, trot, and canter. But then, and it's equally counting is the submissiveness, which that includes the contact, the straightness, obedience, and then also responsiveness to the aids of the rider. and then of course the general impression of how is it a developing dressage horse for the future, and is it coming along on the basis of the training scale? I mean, they look at this, and obviously appropriately developed for their age.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Sometimes I question what they call appropriately developed for their age.
Yeah.
When I see a 4-year-old going down center line that looks like it's going down center line for Grand Prix, I think, and I disagree with that. I had a talk with one of my breeders. I had one there that offered it, and I could have gone there. I mean, in 30 days, I would have had this 4-year-old passaging. I mean, no problem. But we discussed it, and because I was, I've been doing this for a long time, and I advised, and I just refused to do it. And I told the breeder, I said, look, this is all fine and dandy, but it's counterproductive. It's going to hinder me down the road. Yeah. I have to stay with the true gaits of the horse. And the trot is so easily influenced. And I think that they teach these horses, and I call them the tricks, the flicker trot, which is fine. But then you see these horses with these big, exuberant front legs because they drop their backs and they start dragging their hind feet, and it just becomes so obvious. And I hate it when some of these judges, they say, they say all the things that they don't like that is not correct in the training, but then they still give 8s and 9s.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we are left in the field saying, okay, wait a minute. So we all know that that's not how this horse should be ridden, but why are you rewarding it by giving it that kind of score? So if we want to win, then everybody now is going to go home, and that's what we're going to have to do. Knowing bloody well, it's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes a little bit frustrating for us as riders when we do that, because a 4-year-old should not trot like that. It just shouldn't.
Sure. Yeah, it's totally true.
But that's what wins the class.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things to think about in training a young horse. I think that it can be very complicated because I think you and I, a lot of people are trying to make an investment in the future of a horse, whereas these horses that are trained to trot mechanically like this don't have a future because they'll be lame, or there'll be a problem in the training, so. This just goes back to, our discussion is about get somebody who knows how to train a horse and prepare them for later in life. I think that's the big thing with 4-year-olds, and, almost wish that they didn't offer these 4-year-old classes in shows and stuff because all these problems, like you're saying, is with judging and with trying to present a really fancy horse, where I think if you just present a really nicely trained horse, you can get good scores too.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do. I'm assuming you do the same, but I try to have a very harmonious, just natural, show the natural swing, the natural movement of the horse, and ride a correct test, have an obedience horse, have a soft horse, and if I can produce that, I usually get decent scores that will be sufficient to hopefully get an invitation to a championship. And like I said, and sometimes I have these horses where I know I could produce more, but and sometimes when owners ask me that, it's like, why, blah, 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 this and that. And I'm like, well, because I don't think it's very productive. I think you're going to end up with a lot of trouble down the road if we go there now. And I'm just always advise the owners to, they have to trust me that I have the best interest of the horse in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Angela, thank you so much for your time tonight. This has been such a fun discussion, and Young Horses is a fun discussion every time. And if our listeners wanted to find you online for some more advice, how can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. That's probably a great way to follow me. I just usually keep little updates on what's going on and where we're going and, what's happening. I think that's just an easy way to communicate to everybody what we're doing. So just Google my name, Angela Jackson in Kentucky, and I think they can just follow me right there.
Fantastic. Well, Angela, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at the CDIs and at the Young Horse Finals this year.
Oh, I hope so. We're already hard at work trying to make it, but, if they're ready, they're ready, and if not, no hard feelings.
I love it. Thanks, Angela.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Well, Phil, we talk about it every week, and it is very true. You and I use all of the Total Saddle Fit girths. We both use pretty much all the girths for different horses. I certainly use all three types of girths. I use the Stretch Tech girth. I use the just sort of the original girth, and then I also use
the synthetic.
The synthetic girth, exactly.
Yeah, I think you can kind of cater to the horse on which one you need, or maybe you start with one, and then maybe the horse needs to graduate, from the regular shoulder relief girth to the Stretch Tech girth, and then a few horses that the synthetic girth just works perfect for, and there's no reason to, they're not girthy, and I think we said. The draft types and stuff that maybe aren't as sensitive underneath, they work well for the synthetic girth.
I'm using it on a new horse. Yeah, he is such a sweater, this horse. He is a sweater. And here it is hot. I mean, it's basically summer. It's 80, 85 every day. And this boy is a sweater. So the synthetic girth has been perfect for him because it fits his saddle great. And I can, with no conscience, just hose that baby off every day. We all know I do, but it works really well, and on Master Leo. So I've been using that down here. I just started with him, and it's a great girth. So what's great about Justin from Total Saddle Fit is he has all different price points, which is great. And if you have any questions, totalsaddlefit.com, they can answer them for you. So Phil, we've got a fun Total Saddle Fit tip of the week. And we actually got this question a couple different ways, and I think you're the perfect person to answer. This
I don't know,
question,
but I'll do my best.
Yeah, it's from Michaela, and she was actually talking about 3-year-olds, and I thought it was important to sort of talk about 3-year-olds because we're not going to do that in our series because there's no FEI test for 3-year-olds. So Phil, when you're looking at a young horse, and you really are phenomenal with young horses and do a ton of them, much more than I do, actually. So talk to us a little bit about 3-year-olds. Like, how do you evaluate them? How do you evaluate them to start them? How do you do that?
I think it's really, really hard, actually. And, we all know that no two horses are alike. And also no two horses are alike in the way that they grow and develop. So I think every horse that I have in or that, that I'm working with, has to be unique in how I bring it along and what my expectations are. And, so there is no book that you can open and say, okay, this is a 3-year-old. This is exactly what you do. You have to be creative. You have to be able to think outside the box, and you have to go forward with a really confident plan. So and personally, I take a little longer than some other trainers do. Again, I don't have a quick timeline for the 3-year-olds, and so I think really what you're trying to do is really form, kind of a trust and a partnership bond, and so you can do that if you can do that with a lot of extra time, then I think you have a lot more success rather than just going on and saying, okay, I need to, people come to me and I hear about can I send my horse to you for 30 days? Will you start it? I'm like, okay, but your horse in 30 days may not even be, ready to get a saddle on. Mm-hmm. Whereas somebody else's horse in 30 days is, I can be on his back and riding around and steering and all kinds of things. So I don't like anybody that's going to say, okay, here's a timeline, here's a month, here's 2 months or what, or even 3 months. And this is, I want my horse back and I want to be able to ride it, because I'm totally against that. And I don't think it works. I think if you spend more time in the beginning, you'll actually be further along in a year or 2 years than if you rush things and try and make it really quick. Now, saying that, you have to get somewhere, right? Like, you have to be training and you have to have a plan and you have to be moving forward, because the other side of that coin is just not, leading the horse around and feeding it treats and, not getting anywhere. So there's a very delicate balance between, kind of pushing things and training and just, making a nice life for a lawn ornament. So I think that's been really hard. And, I've made lots of mistakes in bringing that along. Yeah. So one thing that I think is important is to kind of learn horse behavior, or let the horse talk to you a little bit, with ear movements, with the way the eye looks, and just be listening so that you can avoid dangerous situations.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so normally the training of the horses at our farm starts at 2 years old, actually. In the summer when it's hot, that's the best time to train young horses, is when they're not super fresh. So at 2 years old, I like to teach them to lean, to lead, to respect the person on the ground, to do all the cross tie stuff, and really make a good on the ground horse, bathing, even and introduce clippers and all that stuff. So you're starting that relationship early. So when they come 3 years old, usually about May or June, like I said, when the weather starts to warm up here in Canada, then that's when I'm starting the training a little bit. And so they always begin by leading around in the arena. I show them everything, for a few days. And then I start with the lunging. And lunging can be super tricky. So again, it's not just chasing the horse around on a lunge line, but it's actually getting them to listen to commands. So if you've done your job of leading the horse and saying whoa and teaching whoa, then that translates very easily to lunge line. And I really always try and teach a horse whoa means stop. I can make them go, but if I can't make them stop, I'm going to be in danger. So again, teaching voice commands, and kind of basically going from there. And then I have 2 people when I want to start the horse. And I do a little bit I'm not a great long liner, but I know that I can do a little bit of long lining, so they're used to the reins, and I can, with confidence, get on the horse and have some steering ability. And then I lunge the horse without a rider, and then I'll get on, or I have somebody else that will get on, and then we'll lunge with a rider, and then they're off the lunge line steering around, and hopefully that all goes easy, and you just go from there. Now, if that doesn't go easy and you have a problem, you need to have a really good plan on how to get through that problem, and a lot of confidence there, and not about being aggressive with a horse. I try never to be, really aggressive, but they have to learn their boundaries, right? So if you have a horse that is kind of naughty, that you have to discipline them, but in a good way that you discipline, and then you reward afterwards. So again, it takes years and years to learn how to do that. But so I guess to wrap it up, there is no real expectations.
Yeah.
What should a 3-year-old be doing? It's just, how can I move forward? And by the time, November or December comes around, when the weather starts to get cold again, then that's when I have to be kind of done the training, because I don't like to train in the indoor with the snow coming down and the ice falling, and it being really cold. So they go back outside. So however far I make it, I try and do my best, and then have a plan when they come back as 4 years old to maybe even start all over again. So when they come back at 4 in April or May, then I start with the lunging again, and then I just review the basics for the horse, and then go from there. But yeah, I don't think there's any really wrong answers, with what you're doing, as long as, like I said, you have a plan and that you're making progress. And I really like to start with a young horse with a really good brain. I think, in all my advice in telling people, when they want to buy a young horse and they want me to train a young horse, I just say, just look at temperament. Look at temperament, and then even the horses that don't move well, if you can train them, you can improve things, right? But the horses that move really, really well, and like legs everywhere, and like, you have such high expectations, if they don't have a good brain, you can't even get around an arena. So, I just don't see the point of that, right? So, I look for a horse that looks fun to ride, that really likes people. Some horses are like really like people. Some horses are like, couldn't care less about you. And some horses don't like people. And so I try and evaluate their brain more than anything, and what they're going to be like to ride and to train,
Yeah.
Trainability is number one.
That's key. Well, thanks, Phil. That you're so good at that, and I think it's really important to know that because it is hard. You know, a lot of us are looking for already made horses, but to really make a horse is really hard. It's really, from start it, and
it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's difficult, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And what I try and tell people too, whether it's young horses or a horse that they're riding and training. I mean, we all make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And usually, I think 9 times out of 10. You can go back and fix a mistake. It takes extra time, but we usually have time, right? So, it's okay, Yeah. If there's a problem, you'll figure it out. You work it out. Get some help.
So true. It's so true. Well, thanks, Phil. That was an awesome Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, and we hope you guys are going to look forward to our Young Horse series as much as we are. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is on Facebook, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show, and don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.